The laughter echoed off the auditorium walls, sharp and careless like it always was. "Hey, Mr. Mop, you missed a spot." A soda bottle clattered to the ground at his feet. Sticky orange fizz splattered near his boots. Malcolm didn't flinch, didn't even look up. He just bent down, picked up the bottle with the same quiet patience he used to clean up all their messes. Gum under the seats, confetti from the pep rally, makeup wipes from the drama girls too lazy to use a trash can. Wore the same grey jumpsuit every day, patches on the knees, school logo barely visible above the name stitched in white. Malcolm. No one ever asked his last name. No one ever asked him anything, really, except when the toilet overflowed or a light needed fixing. The students at Greenridge Academy were the kind of rich that made cruelty feel casual. They were raised on legacy and expectations, not manners. And they treated him like furniture that moved when summoned. Malcolm swept the stage in silence as the theatre kids rehearsed their lines, or fumbled through them, rather. The lead, Carter Bishop, the principal's godson, swaggered across the stage in a costume that fit like a stolen identity, half-assing monologues he never memorized. "Oh, Romeo, Romeo," Carter groaned, stretching dramatically. "Wherefore art thou so damn extra?" The director, Ms. Tenley, winced and rubbed her temples. She'd been teaching drama for 17 years, but this year's production of Romeo and Juliet was a mess. Every rehearsal ran late, every line got butchered. "Carter, it's wherefore art thou Romeo? And no ad-libbing. This is Shakespeare, not TikTok," she snapped. Carter rolled his eyes. "Whatever. I don't even get what this dude's whining about." Ms. Tenley exhaled through her teeth and sat down hard in the front row. "From the top," she said flatly. As they reset, Malcolm moved to the side of the stage, pushing his broom slowly, listening like he always did. He'd never told anyone that he'd played Mercutio once, or that he knew whole scenes by heart without ever glancing at a script. He didn't talk about the programs with his name on them, still stacked in a box in the back of his closet, or how he used to walk this same kind of stage in better shoes and brighter lights. Not since the day his brother died, not since the funeral and the fallout and the debts that changed the course of everything. Now he just swept floors and fixed doors and stayed out of the way. That was safer. But today he paused, just for a moment behind the curtains, as Carter fumbled another line and the scene fell apart again. Malcolm's hand rested on the broom handle, but his eyes were fixed on the stage, watching, waiting, and for the first time in years, he felt something stir. A silence stretched in the room. Ms. Tenley's voice tight with frustration. "This isn't working," she muttered. "We're 3 days out, and my lead can't remember 10 lines. Does anyone in this school understand the stakes here?" From the back, Carter's friend shouted, "Maybe Mr. Mop can do it. Bet he knows the lines." They all laughed, except Malcolm. He stood there, quietly, then slowly turned toward them, and said, without raising his voice, Act Y, Scene 5, the Capulet Ball, "Would you like me to begin?" The room fell still. Even Miss Tenley sat up straighter, her eyes narrowing. "You know the scene?" Malcolm gave a single nod. "I know all of them." And for the first time in all the years he'd worked there, every eye was on him. Not as the janitor, not as the background, but as someone they suddenly didn't know at all, someone they'd underestimated, someone with a story yet to be told. The silence in the auditorium sat heavy, the kind that made you forget to breathe. Carter looked like he'd just been slapped. "Air with a dictionary." Ms. Tenley tilted her head, arms crossed, studying Malcolm the way she studied first-year students when they surprised her, with cautious curiosity. "All right, then," she said slowly. "Go ahead, mister." "Malcolm is fine," he replied. "Go ahead, Malcolm, let's hear it." He stepped toward the center of the stage. No lights, no costume, no flourish. Just him, standing in his beat-up work boots and that gray jumpsuit, with the worn patch on the knee. And then, in a voice low and sure, he began, "If I profane with my unworthiest hand this holy shrine, the gentle fine is this. My lips, two blushing pilgrims, ready stand to smooth that rough touch with a tender kiss." It rolled out of him like music. Not loud, but deep and steady, like water smoothing stone. His posture shifted, not just upright, but alive, as if the words weren't recited, but remembered from someplace personal. The room went still again. Even Carter was frozen, watching like he didn't understand the scene anymore. Like he wasn't in it at all. A girl in the front, Kayla, who'd been cast as Juliet, looked up from her phone in disbelief. "Wait," she whispered half to herself. "He's actually good." Malcolm kept going, line after line, voice smooth like silk folded over fire. His eyes were focused, but not on any of them. He wasn't performing at them. He was somewhere else entirely. Back in time, maybe. Back in a life none of them knew he had. By the time he reached the end of the scene, the whole room was hushed. Miss Tenley's mouth was slightly open. The crew backstage had stopped moving. Even Carter didn't make a joke. When Malcolm finished, he stepped back, placed the broom down gently, and said, "I believe the line after that is Juliet's," Kayla stammered. I don't... I mean, yeah, it is." Miss Tenley stood. "You were a stage actor." "I was a student," Malcolm said, brushing off his pants. "Juilliard, class of 2001. The room gasped like he'd said he used to be king. Carter scoffed. There's no way." Malcolm raised an eyebrow like he'd heard that before, like doubt no longer surprised him. "You want me to prove it?" He turned to the side wall where the old upright piano sat. Walked over, lifted the cover, plinked a single key, then another. Then the first lines of My Funny Valentine floated through the room, soft and worn, and everyone turned as he began to sing, clear and aching, in a voice trained but raw. Miss Tenley sat down like her knees had buckled. "Lord," she whispered, "we've been wasting our time." Carter was already walking off stage. Malcolm stopped playing and turned toward the stunned group. "I'm not here to take anyone's role," he said calmly, "but I won't stand back and watch you butcher something sacred. If you care about this play, if you want to learn it, I can help. Otherwise, sweep your own damn stage." And he turned and walked out. The door shut behind him with a soft click. This time, nobody laughed. The next morning, Malcolm arrived before sunrise. He always did, except now. The silence felt different. Not like being ignored, like being watched. From the second-floor windows, a few students peeked through blinds. The ones who used to pretend. He didn't exist, suddenly knew he had a past, and maybe power, but none of them said anything. Not yet. Malcolm unlocked the janitor's closet, pulled on his gloves and started with the lower hallway. Sweeping, mopping, scrubbing scuff marks from a trophy case no one really cared about. His routine didn't change, but the school had. But fourth period, whispers followed him like shadows. "Is it true? I heard he was on Broadway. Did you see how he moved when he spoke? Why'd he leave?" They all had theories. Some said he lost his voice in an accident and never recovered. Others claimed he once turned down a lead in a Hollywood film for love. A few swore he got stage fright mid-performance and never stepped on stage again. But Malcolm, he said nothing, until Miss Tenley found him in the cafeteria, fixing a broken table leg with his tool belt still on. "I need to speak with you," she said. He didn't look up. "If it's about last night, I meant what I said." "It's not. Well, not just that." She sat. "You saved that rehearsal, Malcolm. You know that, right?" I reminded them what the words were supposed to sound like, he said evenly. "That's all." She smiled, tired but genuine. "That's more than they've heard all semester." Malcolm tightened the bolt beneath the table, wiped his hands on a rag. "I don't want the role." "I know," she said, "but I want you in that room. They listened to you, they felt something, and that's more than I've been able to get out of them all year." He looked at her then, fully. Something unspoken passed between them. The quiet understanding of people who'd both been overlooked in rooms they used to run. "You want me to coach them?" he said. She nodded. "I want you to help them respect the stage. You know how. I can only get them halfway." He hesitated. His eyes flicked toward the students gathering at the back, Carter among them, arms crossed, jaw tight. Then Malcolm said softly, "I'll come by after my shift." No promises. That evening, when rehearsal started, Malcolm stood in the wings, not holding a broom but a script. He didn't interrupt, not once. But when Carter missed a cue and mumbled through a monologue, Malcolm calmly walked forward and recited the line. Not to embarrass him, but to restore rhythm. Then he stepped back. "Don't remember it word for word yet," Malcolm said, not unkind. "Try again, with breath this time." Carter narrowed his eyes but said nothing. He tried again, got halfway, looked over. Malcolm gave a quiet nod just once. For the next hour, the students followed him like lanterns chasing a flame. Not because he demanded it, because they wanted. In his hands, the words felt like spells. He wasn't loud, but the way he corrected posture suggested pace, coached rhythm. It was like watching music take shape out of silence. Kayla whispered to a friend, "He doesn't teach like Ms. Tenley. He teaches like he's been there." And by the end of rehearsal, Carter, for the first time, stayed late to run a scene again. Malcolm said nothing about it. He just walked out as the sun dipped below the trees outside, gloves in hand, broom waiting by the door. But behind him, the sound of applause followed, soft, respectful, and entirely real. By Friday, the whispers stopped, not because people lost interest, but because the rumors had given way to reverence. Now, when Malcolm walked through the halls, students stepped aside. They still didn't know whether to say Sir or Mr. Malcolm, or just stay quiet. But the snickers had vanished. Something had shifted, rehearsals transformed. Malcolm didn't just coach. He chiseled, like a sculptor with dust covered. Clay, he uncovered rhythm and emotion from places the students didn't know they had. "You're not saying the line," he told Carter one day. "You're avoiding it." Carter bristled. "No, I'm not." Malcolm tilted his head. Then, "Look her in the eyes. Say it like you mean it. If Juliet dies in the next scene and you never get to say those words again, how do you say them now?" The room went still. Carter swallowed, looked at Kayla, then tried again. This time, no smirk, no sarcasm, just a single raw breath and an honest voice. Malcolm gave a small nod. There it is. The cast started staying late, voluntarily. Even the football boys who used to snore through lines now whispered sonnets in the stairwells. Malcolm brought old copies of annotated scripts, pages yellowed with use. Notes scrawled in the margins, some with another name signed at the bottom. J. Myers. One afternoon, Kayla asked, "Who's J. Myers?" Malcolm paused. "My brother," he said. "He wrote those notes. I just kept them going." He didn't explain. He didn't have to, because something about the way his voice softened when he said the name told them everything they needed to know. It became clear. Malcolm didn't return to the stage for praise or glory or ego. He returned for someone he loved, someone he lost. And when the principal finally heard what was happening and stormed into rehearsal demanding to know why a janitor was leading the drama department, Ms. Tenley stood up before anyone else could speak. "If you'd seen one rehearsal," she said, "you'd understand he's the only reason this play's even still happening." The principal looked at Malcolm. "You're not on staff. You're not insured. You're not cleared to—" "I'm not getting paid," Malcolm said, flatly, "just helping kids who want to do it right." The principal's lips thinned. Carter stepped forward. "Sir, he's teaching us more than anyone else ever has. You can either support that or be the reason the spring play tanks in front of 300 alumni donors." The room went silent. Even Malcolm blinked. The principal straightened his tie, cleared his throat, and muttered, "Fine, but one misstep, and he's out." "Understood." No one answered. But Malcolm, he was already back to coaching blocking for scene the 3. That night, Malcolm stayed late. Long after the kids went home, long after Miss Tenley turned off the stage lights, he sat alone at the piano, fingers hovering above the keys, eyes far away. A folded photo slipped from his pocket. 2 boys in matching bow ties, one holding a script, the other pretending to conduct an orchestra. He stared at it for a long time. Then, softly, he began to play. Not for an audience, just for himself, just for the memory of the boy who once believed in him before the world made him invisible. The night of the performance came like a storm. Quiet at first, then suddenly loud. The auditorium buzzed with anticipation. Folding chairs were dragged out to accommodate the overflow. Parents, alumni, donors, board members, all dressed. Sharp faces stiff with expectation. Cameras flashed. The air was tight with perfume and nerves, backstage chaos. Carter was pacing. Kayla was crying over smudged eyeliner. The lighting guy had lost his cue sheet. And Malcolm stood at the back, arms crossed, calm as ever, in his grey jumpsuit, pressed for once, clean boots, a single small pin on his chest, the Juilliard crest. Most didn't notice. Those who did said nothing. Ms. Tenley found him adjusting a loose curtain tie. "You sure you won't go out there?" she asked. "Even for one scene?" He gave a soft smile. "This is their night, not mine." She looked at him for a long moment. "You should be proud, you know." "I'm not." She raised an eyebrow. "I'm grateful," he said, and with that he stepped aside, disappearing into the wings. When the curtain rose, the first scene stumbled. A missed cue, a shaky entrance. Malcolm didn't move. He let it happen. Let the nerves run their course. But then Carter stepped forward. And everything changed. Gone was the boy who mocked rehearsal, who rolled his eyes and forgot lines. What stood in his place was someone grounded, someone real. His voice filled the room with clarity, purpose. Like every word mattered. The audience leaned in. Juliet's lines came next, and Kayla delivered them with a soft ache that made the front. Rowe inhaled sharply. Scene after scene, the story unfolded like silk. Tension, romance, fury, despair. By Actor 3, no one remembered the rumors about the janitor. They only felt the performance. Backstage during intermission, Carter sat with a towel over his head, breathing hard. Malcolm approached quietly. "You dropped a line," he said. Carter groaned. "I know. But you covered it with instinct," Malcolm added. "You didn't fake it. You felt it. That's the work." Carter looked up at him. "I was wrong." "About you," he said. Malcolm nodded once. "You were wrong about yourself too." Carter smiled, a real one. When the final act ended, when Juliet lay lifeless and Romeo's voice broke on the final word, the auditorium was stone silent. Then erupted a standing ovation, the kind that starts hesitant, then grows tidal. The cast bowed, breathless. Backstage, Ms. Tenley searched for Malcolm, but he was gone. He walked the side corridor alone, keys jangling softly, past the dark classrooms and trophy cases, past the old music room with the warped piano. In his locker waited his tools. In his pocket the photo of 2 boys in bow ties, now worn at the edges. He didn't need a curtain call. He didn't need a spotlight. What he needed, he'd already heard from the stage: truth, redemption, respect. and he'd taught them all that without ever raising his voice. The next morning, the school buzzed like it had won a championship. Everyone who hadn't made it to the play scrambled for photos, clips, reviews. The student paper printed a full-color spread with the headline, "A Star Rises on Stage," and another behind the curtain. There was no photo of Malcolm, just a silhouette at the edge of the wings. But his name was finally printed in something other than an email about a plumbing issue. Malcolm arrived on campus just past 6:01 a.m., like always. The halls smelled of stale popcorn and fresh applause. A few folded programs littered the floor, but someone, maybe one of the students, had started cleaning up already. He smiled at the thought. He had just finished fixing a flickering hallway light when he heard it. "Mr. Malcolm?" He turned. Kayla stood there, still in sweatpants, hair pulled back, face free of makeup for once. But her eyes held something wide and weighty. "You're coming to the cast celebration tonight, right?" Malcolm shook his head gently. "Those are for the students." She hesitated, then reached into her tote bag and pulled out something wrapped in tissue. "We voted last night after curtain call. We made a cast gift for you." He blinked, unsure. "I didn't perform." "No," she said, pressing it into his hands. "But we wouldn't have either, not like that without you." He slowly unwrapped it. A handmade plaque. Simple, wooden, but carved carefully, painted with gold lettering. "To Mr. Malcolm, our quiet director, for teaching us how to be heard." His throat tightened. She didn't say anything more, just nodded, then turned and walked away. He held the plaque for a long time. Then, after a while, placed it gently into his locker, right beside the photo of him and his brother. That afternoon, the school board gathered in the main office for a debrief with Ms. Tenley and the principal. Alumni donors had sent flowers. Someone from the State Theatre Association called asking for permission to view the performance. Malcolm wasn't in the room, but his name came up anyway. Ms. Tenley spoke first. "He's not faculty," the board chair said. "Not technically." "No," Tenley replied, "but he's done what faculty haven't. He doesn't have a license. He has respect." Her voice cracked on it. "He has their hearts, their focus, their growth. You want to talk numbers? Look at the attendance. Look at the donations. Look at the emails from parents who said their kids came home and started reading Shakespeare voluntarily." Silence. The principal cleared his throat. "What are you proposing?" Tenley reached into her bag and slid a paper forward. "Create a new position. Performance consultant. Mentor in residence. I don't care what the title is. Give him a key to the green room and make it official." The chair narrowed his eyes. "That's unprecedented." "Unprecedented is what we just pulled off," she shot back. Another silence. Then, slowly, a few nods around the table. That evening Malcolm stayed late. Not because he had to, because he wanted to. He stood center stage, alone, staring out at empty seats, now holding the ghosts of clapping hands. And then, from the back, footsteps. Thought. "You didn't like celebrations," Miss Tenley said. "I don't." She held out a small envelope. "Then take this instead." He opened it. Inside a new badge. Greenridge Academy Malcolm Avery, artist in residence. His fingers brushed the lettering. "You earned it," she said, "and they asked for you by name." He didn't speak for a moment, then gave the softest, smallest smile. "Guess I'll have to iron my shirt." It was different now, the way students greeted him in the halls, the way teachers paused to ask questions instead of walking past, the way his name sat on their tongues, with intention, not indifference. Mr. Avery. He wasn't just the janitor anymore. Though he still kept his keys, still swept the auditorium before every show, still fixed the loose floorboard on stage left that everyone else tripped over. But now, when he spoke, people listened, and when he was silent, they waited anyway. It started with small changes. The school's music teacher asked him to co-direct the spring showcase. The English department invited him to guest teach Othello. And One morning, in a classroom full of half-awake seniors, Malcolm stood at the front and said simply, "Tell me what you feel when you read the line." Men's eyes were made to look and let them gaze. A quiet kid in the back whispered, "Shame." Another girl said, "Pride." Malcolm nodded. "Now say it like it hurts." She did, and the room fell still. He kept his routine, still fixed the broken lockers, still wiped graffiti from the boys' bathroom mirror, but word spread beyond. Campus by May, a local reporter came to do a story, not on the school. On him they asked about Juilliard, about his brother. About why he left. Malcolm declined the interview. Instead, he handed them a program from the spring play, the kids' names circled in ink, his own nowhere on the page. "This is the story," he said. "Print that." The article ran anyway. The man behind the curtain. How a school janitor became its brightest light. Parents emailed. Theatre programs reached out. And one night, sitting in his modest apartment, Malcolm got a letter from the Juilliard alumni office. They were honoring past graduates who made unconventional contributions to the arts. Someone had nominated him. He read the letter twice, then tucked it in the same box where his old headshots lived, now dusty but undamaged. At Greenridge, the final week of classes approached. Carter, now confident and composed, walked with purpose. He applied to NYU's drama program. Kayla was headed to Northwestern. Both of them thanked Malcolm separately. "You didn't just teach me to act," Carter said. "You taught me to mean it." Kayla said, "You didn't push me. You pulled something out I didn't even know was in there." Malcolm didn't respond with speeches. He never did. Just a nod, a hand on the shoulder, and a single word, "Keep going." On the last day of school, someone left something in the green room, a framed photo, black and white, 2 boys, one tall, one short, center stage, laughing, under a beam of light. The caption below read, "For Jay Myers, the first stage partner, the forever muse." Malcolm didn't ask who left it, but when he saw it, he sat down quietly in the front row of the empty auditorium, let the weight of it settle, let the memory stay, and for the first time in years, he closed his eyes and smiled like someone who'd found peace, not in applause, but in purpose. Summer arrived. The hallways emptied. Lockers clicked for the last time. Yearbooks passed from hand to hand. Pages filled with the sloppy ink of goodbye. And Malcolm stayed. He always did. The quiet months belonged to him. Just him and the echo of footsteps through warm, dusty corridors. He liked it this way. No masks, no scripts, just silence. A kind of peace. But this summer something was different. The school offered a new elective for incoming freshmen, foundations in stagecraft and voice. Malcolm's name was listed as Instructor of Record. Below it, Artist in Residence. The janitor's closet stayed his, but so did the keys to the Black Box Theatre. He taught a few kids every Wednesday that summer, mostly shy ones. One girl stuttered, one boy mumbled, one refused to speak above a whisper. He didn't fix them. He just listened, then waited, then nudged, and one by one, they unfolded. In July, a new custodian was hired, young, nervous, the kind who walked fast with his eyes low. Malcolm trained him the way someone once trained him, with quiet patience. "You fix what you can. Clean what they see," Malcolm told him. The kid nodded. "And the rest? You leave better than you found it." By August, Miss Tenley stopped by his room with a manila envelope. "Scholarship fund," she said, holding it out. The board approved it. He opened it slowly. Inside, an application form, a check for the seed donation, a flyer with a name. Printed at the top in bold serif font, the J. Myers Legacy Grant for Students of Voice and Stage. Malcolm's breath caught in his throat. I told them about your brother, she said. Figured it was time the stage remembered both of you. He sat down, held the paper in both hands like something holy, and said nothing at all. Opening night came again the following fall. This time Malcolm stood at the back of the theatre, not in uniform, in a dark blazer and pressed slacks. No tie, he never liked them. The students had chosen The Tempest. His suggestion. Before the lights dimmed, Carter, now an NYU freshman, returned to visit, found him in the wings. You changed my life, Carter said. Malcolm just smiled. You rewrote your own script. I just gave you the pen. As the curtain fell that night and the crowd rose to its feet, someone leaned toward Miss Tenley and whispered, "Who's the man in the back?" She glanced toward Malcolm, who stood with his hands in his pockets, quiet as always. "That's Malcolm." "Avery," she said. "He used to clean the floors." The guest blinked. "And now?" She smiled. "Now he teaches them how to fly."